Ahoy there! Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another ship fitting guide for EVE Echoes. Now, in the past we've covered both the Vexor Trainer, the Caracal Trainer, the Stabber Trainer, and the Omen Trainer, those free ships that you could get as part of your daily login rewards as an Omega clone. I think it's about day 5 that you get the box that you can pick one of those. We've had a look at those and how you kind of expand outwards from most of them. Today then, we are having a look at how you progress out of the Vexor Trainer into the Vexor Navy Issue. This is the ship that you see on screen now. An absolute drone powerhouse, incredibly potent ship for use in PvE. So we're going to have a look at how this ship actually works, what its stats all mean, how you can fit it, and how you can get the most out of it. Because I'm watching people do the storyline encounters, all the way up to like Tech 10 anomalies, etc., using this particular ship. It's an absolute beast if you're skilled into it properly, and that's what we're going to look at today. Now, if you have enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting a like on it, sub to the channel for all things EVE Echoes, ding that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and let me know in the comment section down below what topics you want to see covered in future videos. If you want to go the extra mile to help support this channel, you can do so by joining me on Patreon. Details are on screen now, and every single pledge and every single dollar helps. At the end of this video as well, it's worth noting that this particular ship, this exact Vexor Navy issue, will be on sale on my Discord. Link is in the description below. Make sure to head down to the description because it's got all the uppercase, lowercase nonsense that Discord requires to actually find on Discord, so you can place a bid and see if you can win this exact ship. Now finally, before we jump into this video, you may recall that when I did my video on the shuttles, talking about those, I challenged you guys to send me some really cool screenshots, which I'm going to start showcasing on screen now. I got a ton of really cool screenshots sent through to you guys. I've been feeling quite ill for the past week, and these genuinely really cheered me up having a look through some of these and just seeing some of the cool ideas and cool things that you were getting up to with the shuttle. Seems the Minmatar and the Galente shuttles are definitely the most popular. I don't think I got a single one from the Caldari shuttle, in fairness. Apparently you guys don't like the Caldari shuttle. But I did promise that I was going to pick 3 of these that would win a month of Combo Omega each. So, at the end of the video, I will showcase the 3 winning entries. If you recognise one of these 3, you need to get onto Discord. Remember, link in the description down below. Find me on Discord and let me know your in-game name. Of course, I'll just need a little bit of evidence to show that it was actually you who took that particular screenshot. But there we go. Anyway, folks, good luck. Look forward to seeing the winners at the end. And for those of you who do win a month of Combo Omega, enjoy. Hope it helps. Alright then, well, let's actually have a look at the Vexor Navy issue itself. Now, like the other Navy issue and Fleet issue for the Minmatar, because of course they have to have their own name, let's look into the Galente Federation, climb up the cruiser branch to tech level 6, and here it is. Very cool looking ship. Unfortunately, the graphics bug I get is absolutely terrible on this one. Really does flicker quite a lot, doesn't it? But there we go. Hopefully we can find a fix for this at some point. I do like the look of the Vexor, even though it really does very much remind me of the Needler from the Halo franchise, the gun in the game. Certainly I can't be the only one who sees that, can I? I'm going to put it on screen now as a comparison. And yes, of course, it got an amazingly badass Halloween skin. Anyway, let's have a look at the ship itself. So the Vexor Navy issue. 5 drone tubes that can launch both small and medium drones, 2 high slots, 3 mid slots, 4 low slots, 2 power grid rigs, and 2 mechanical rigs. Decent sized cargo hold at 960 cubic meters, good sized power grid at 515 megawatts, and a solid defense at 12,101. Now, like with most Galente ships, you'll see that this is mainly in structure, 3,557 to be exact, with 3,488 on armour. Now, would I recommend ever hull tanking this thing? No. This is an armour tank ship for, by far, the main way that you would fit this. Armour tanking is going to be the way that we go. Shields aren't terrible though, 2,891, we've got nearly 3,000 on the shields. It just so happens that both armour and structure are at 3,500 basically, 3.5, so a lot more there on the shields, on the armour than on the shields. And as you'll see, as of the recent November update, those armour values now actually have some interesting resistances attached to them as well, in that the kinetic stat has been increased to 36.25% on the armour. That's an interesting little increase and just makes the Vexor that little bit more sturdy. Now, looking down at the rest of its stats, a signature radius of 105.9 is actually fairly small for a cruiser. It's not tiny by any stretch of the mind, but as far as cruisers go, that is on the smaller end of things, along with a flight velocity of 253 being fairly nippy, middling to high. It's not as fast as some cruisers, it's not as small as some cruisers, but it's heading from the median outwards to those externals. Scan resolution as well, 303, isn't terrible. That's pretty solid. Allows you to lock onto your targets fairly quickly. Warp speed of 3.0 AU per second, nothing to sort of sniff at, nothing crazy, but kind of, it's useful for getting from A to B without wanting to pull your hair out with it taking hours to do 10 jumps. Anyway, let's have a look at the actual description on the ship itself, the actual bonuses that this ship gets. Now, of course, being a drone ship, with 5 drone tubes, what gave away that it might be a drone ship? With a drone ship, of course, advanced medium drone operation was going to be the skill that we had a look at here. It is a Fleet Navy issue ship, meaning advanced skills are what come into play here. You don't really want to upgrade into a Navy issue Vexor until you are starting to train into the advanced level skills. If you're still training up basically medium drone operation and medium drone upgrade, stick with the standard Vexor until you reach the point where you are now training advanced medium drone operation and advanced medium drone upgrade. Anyway, for each level in advanced medium drone operation, you get an additional 12% drone DPS, 5% drone effective hit points, and 3 kilometers drone control range. That means at a full advanced medium drone operation 5, that's 60% additional drone DPS, 25% drone effective hit points, and 15 kilometers drone control range. Now that means if you've trained drone all the way to level 5, which your blasted well should have done because you're going to need it in order to be actually able to use this ship to its full effect, that gives you the 5 kilometers from drone basic drone 5, plus to 20 standard, plus 15 for the ship. You're already looking at a 40 kilometer drone range before we look at any rigs or any other special effects. That's pretty powerful, especially with 60% additional drone DPS, which means that those 5 drones are actually acting as if they're 8, which is pretty powerful. That can do a lot of damage, and they're nice and survivable too, thanks to that extra drone EHP. Now, Advanced Cruiser Command is our second skill. This gives a reduction of 5% to the inertia modifier, a 5% increase to scan resolution, and a 5% increase to sensor strength. That means 25% reduction to inertia and 25% increase to the scan resolution and sensor strength if you are Advanced Cruiser Command 5, which you should be if you're using cruisers. Now, this essentially makes the ship that little bit more maneuverable, faster to warp, and just to move around the battlefield itself thanks to that inertia modifier reduction, and the scan resolution and sensor strength just increases that 303 to a point where you can actually lock onto stuff fairly swiftly. It's kind of a mainstay for the Navy and Fleet issue cruisers. They kind of all have that bonus there to them, to scan resolution, just helps them lock on a little bit faster. It's nothing overly crazy, but it is certainly a nice little quality of life thing to have. No dedicated roll bonus, but not that the Vexor Navy issue needs it. Definitely a drone cruiser, but a key point to note here is there are no bonuses to any other weapon. Yes, it's a Galente ship, but you'll notice there are no bonuses to railguns, so you shouldn't feel like you have to pick a particular weapon based on this ship, and that's one of the big advantages of the Vexor line of cruisers. You can actually choose your top slots depending on what it is you fancy actually doing out on the battlefield, and we'll come to that when we look at fitting. But before then, let's check out the skills. Now, in order to properly explain and showcase the Vexor Navy issue, I think it's worthwhile me spending just a brief moment to talk about which skills you should be training in order to move into it, plus also just to showcase what skills I have relevant to the ship, so that you understand where its statistics when I'm showcasing them are actually coming from, in case there's any discrepancy between what you've got trained and what I've got trained, so that our Vexor Navy issues may look somewhat different. Now, the first skill I think that is worth mentioning here is under drones, and that is, of course, the drone skill itself. You'll see I've got this trained up to basic level 5, and the reason for that is the drone control number plus 3. Not even for the range. The range is nice and it's certainly helpful, but it's mainly for that drone control number. You see, when you start off with a new character, your ship can control 2 drones. The Vexor Navy issue has 5 drone tubes. That means if you haven't bothered training the drone skill, then you literally can only launch those 2 drones into space, meaning 3 of them are sitting in your drone tubes and your ship can't launch or use them. You need to get this to level 5 ASAP. Do not even consider using the Vexor Navy issue until you have drone trained to at least level 5. Now, in regards to the weapon stats as well, obviously we've said medium drone operation and advanced medium drone operation, followed by medium drone upgrade and advanced medium drone upgrade. Now you'll see here, between those 4 skills, I've got advanced medium drone operation up to 5, the others are all sitting at 4, because you can train into advanced medium drone operation and advanced medium drone upgrade once you hit basic 4. You don't actually need to get basic all the way to 5 before you can move into advanced. You do, however, need to get advanced all the way to 5 before you move into expert, and at that point I would usually recommend getting basic up to 5 as well. Anyway, now what do those actually do? Well, medium drone operation itself, if we have a look at the full skill trained up to level 5, would give an increase of 20% medium drone damage and a 10% increase to medium drone tracking speed. That is, of course, drones essentially use a micro-warp drive and turrets, and that means that they do have a tracking speed, they do have to actually track a target. So medium drones, I'm not going to say they struggle against smaller targets, they don't. They just don't apply their damage as well against smaller, faster-moving targets as they do against, say, cruisers. But they do still do well enough against frigates, especially if you're training into this and getting that bonus to their tracking speed. Now, drone upgrade on the other hand, what this does is this gives you medium drone damage increase again, but it's 15% rather than 20, and instead it gives you an accuracy fall off and an optimal range increase. This again helps the drones actually apply their damage that little bit better. When they're orbiting a target, especially faster moving ones that they might struggle to stick to, they are able to apply their damage that little bit better. They're also actually able to start firing earlier, which is a key point as well, because of course your drones have to move into the range of the target, then start firing, and if you've got drones sitting miles away and slowly crawling into combat, it's gonna be a while before they can start firing. You make their guns longer range, they start firing effectively sooner. Now, of course, the reason I've gone for advanced medium drone operation to 5 first is because the ship actually benefits from it. It's not just the increase of 10% damage, 10% drone tracking speed, and the 2-second increase to the drone damage amplifier activation time. Blech. It's also the fact that you're getting the full bonuses here. If I'd stopped at level 4, that's only going to be 12 kilometers drone control range, 20% drone EHP, and only, 48% drone DPS increase rather than the full 60%. So it's quite a big drop. Not only are you missing the 5th point from the skill itself, but you're also missing the actual bonuses from the ship. If you're using a ship, try to max out its skill bonuses, because that's a massive increase to that ship's efficacy. That's a big word. Anyway, other skills that are relevant, of course, under cruising technology, we've taken Cruiser Command all the way up to Advanced Cruiser Command 5. This gives a reduction to your inertia modifier and an increase to the cruiser velocity, plus in the case of the Vexor, it's giving you that additional inertia modifier down and the scan resolution up. Always useful to have. Certainly, if you find that, like me, you tend to have a character trained specifically toward one class of ship, like I've got my main is trained into frigates, and this alt is trained majority into cruisers, this gives you the ability to, you really should go for Advanced Cruiser Command and Cruiser Command straight up first. If you go heavy into destroyers, get Destroyer Command to 5, and then Advanced Destroyer Command to 5 as soon as you start using ships that do it. It's a very important skill that benefits all of your ships across the board on that particular class. Very, very useful. Now, beyond that, shield and armor operation can be useful. As you can see, I have no skills involved in either of those. Defense upgrade is another useful one. I haven't had chance really to start training into this one. This, because of drone skills being so blasted heavy on the SP requirements, there's a lot of skills that are not quite at the level I would like them to be at, but if you're dedicated onto something, it would certainly help. I mean, this alt is also trained into expert corporation management as well, so there's a lot of SP hold up there that if I ever decided that I didn't want to have the Catskill Cartel anymore, would allow this character to be a lot more powerful in a lot of different ways. But hey, that's the sacrifice you make in order to run a to run your own corporation, which again, if you do want to join, make sure you come join us on Discord, link in the description below, make your application, we are still recruiting. But anyway, Cruiser Defense Upgrade, what this actually does is gives you an additional 500 shield, 500 armor, and 500 structure, which already makes it well worth training. By the time you get into Advanced Cruiser Defense Upgrade, that then becomes 25%, which is a massive increase and well worth training into. Engineering is another one that's worth looking into. I've taken this to Cruiser Engineering 4 and Advanced Cruiser Engineering 4. This basically increases the amount of capacity that your ship has. Bigger capacitor means that you can leave things running for longer. Plus the power grid is increased quite considerably as well, allowing you to fit more modules of a higher quality. An interesting point that a lot of people don't necessarily click onto straight away is that frigate engineering is ultimately what is the gatekeeper for higher tier equipment. The difference between sort of meta level 5, meta level 8 or meta level 11 is mainly not just their DPS, but their power grid requirements too. And if you're not training into engineering of whatever ship type it is that you're using, you may struggle to fit some of those rarer modules in. Well worth pointing out. Finally as well, target management is actually a really useful one to have here as well, because it gives you the ability to lock onto multiple targets. When using drones, you do ultimately want to try, in PvP this is, you do want to try and lock onto your own drones as well, so you can see if they're taking damage. And if they're taking damage, you can actually draw them back into your ship, where they will instantly recover to full health. You can then launch them again and send them back into combat. Very, very powerful ability there. Scan resolution and targeting range, oh well, who cares really about those. But those are the skills that I would ultimately recommend at this point in time. I haven't talked much about other weapon types. This ultimately depends on whatever you fancy putting into the top slots of the Vexor Navy Issue or any other drone ships that you're using, because you're going to have top slots whether you want to put cannons or railguns or lasers or whatever the heck you fancy in those top slots. Do consider training into those weapon skills as well in order to make the most out of them. So let's then actually have a look at fitting a Vexor Navy Issue. You'll see that this build isn't necessarily a brawler, it's not quite a kiter, it's what I refer to as a skirmisher, which is kind of a middle of the ground there. You can modulate your range to depend against whatever target you're fighting. You can go either maximum range if something's got short range guns, or you can get a little bit closer if you need to, if something's like hitting you with disruptors of some kind, that kind of thing. You can just play around with all kinds of different ranges, and it gives you a lot of versatility. And drone ships are known for one thing, it's their versatility. So let's have a look at how we fit for this. Now, of course, the drones themselves. Here you'll see I've got 2 Mark 7 Hammerheads, followed by 3 Mark 7 Vespers. Now, let's talk about drones briefly. I know a lot of people are absolutely invested in, no, you need to go for hammerheads. They are the best against absolutely everything. And that's not strictly true. There are situations where the hammerheads are the best option, and in a generalistic sense, yes, they do kind of come out as the top one. If you were to look at a ship fit with, say, 5 hammerheads, compared to 5 Vespers, compared to 5 Valkyries, compared to 5 Interceptors, that kind of thing, and take those into different anomalies and compare them, yes, the one with the hammerhead is overall going to come out slightly better. And when I say slightly better, myself and mine, one of the members of the Catskill Cartel, who is very big on theory crafting, he sat down and actually had a look at this kind of thing, did all the maths on it, double-checked it. Yeah, you're looking at about a 1% difference, basically. There is very little difference overall. Ultimately, change your drones based on the encounter you're going up against. If you're going up against Gerstus anomalies, they are shield tanks, so you're going to want to use a lot of interceptors and possibly some hammerheads. If you're going up against Galente that are armor tanked, or Amar that are armor tanked, again, you're probably going to want to use a spread of Vespers and Valkyries in order to help pull those down faster. It's basically based on that damage type, and of course, drones themselves, you don't just necessarily have what is in the tubes, you can put some into the drone bay as well, so that when you're out in combat you can actually change to the situation. And the very best drone pilots will micromanage their drones explicitly. Oh dear, I've cleared through my target's shield, let's pull back the electromagnetic and thermal drones and send in the explosive and kinetic ones. That kind of thing. Now for the high slots then, I've gone for Challenger medium missile launchers. Now yes, missile launchers got a bit of a nerf recently, or missiles as a whole. Rapids got a nerf, but the medium missile launchers actually got a buff to their damage. Good range here, 27.95 kilometers. That goes quite nicely with the fact that I can control my drones from up to 40 kilometers as well. This means that at 27.95, that full DPS you see there of 36727 is available for me to use. Obviously I can go beyond that and up to the drone's control range of 40 kilometers, but I do then sacrifice the 72.77 DPS from the missiles. It's not a huge amount. You need to accept that your top slots are not going to be a massive amount of DPS, and that's fine. There are situations where you may actually pull out beyond that. If I'm up against someone who's using guns like snub-nosed or autocannons, yeah, I'm going to pull back to maybe full 40 kilometers and just ignore their gun range and sit there quite happily hitting them from a distance. I might move to the 28 kilometers and start hitting with the missiles from there. But the reason I've gone for missiles rather than any other weapon system, ultimately, is for versatility. Again, they're as effective at 0 kilometers as they are at that full range of 27.95, plus they've got a good spread of damage types. Whilst they don't excel against against any particular damage type, any particular resistance type. They don't suffer against any either. I'm always going to be good. I'm always going to be doing a decent amount of damage. If they're an armor tank, then I've got the explosive and kinetic damage. If they're a shield tank, I've got the electromagnetic and the thermal. You don't ever really suffer, and it's just that versatility, also helped by the fact that I do have some medium missile skills on this particular character as well, because I was originally going to be doing a video on things like the Caracal Navy issue, which I will get around to one day. Even after the nerfs, still a pretty decent ship. Now for the mid-slots, this is where I know I'm going to get a lot of people message me like, oh my god, your fitting's absolute crap. I'm looking at you, Reddit. Yes, I get it every single time a video goes up. Oh my goodness, Benzi's videos are absolute trash, the fittings are terrible. No one bothers to actually engage me and say, you know, I don't like this fitting, I disagree because of X, Y, and Z. It's just, you're trash. If you want to actually talk to me, that's fine, we'll have a conversation, we'll talk to each other about why we think different things. But I always showcase in the videos how this works and why I think it works. Now first of all then, I've got two up-air medium energy Nosferatus. Yes, they've only got a 9 km optimal range and a 5 km accuracy fall-off, so 100% effectiveness at 9 km, 50% at 14, down to 0 by the time you hit 19 km. Ultimately, I'm aiming to mainly be beyond that range, but you know what? Sometimes if your capacitor's getting a bit low, you can just zoom right up to something, orbit it at a nice tight range, and continue to drain off that thing. And that's ultimately what I do with a Vexor Navy Issue. I pick a target. I tend to pick the last thing I'm going to shoot, like a Hurricane or a Drake, or something that ultimately is a big battle cruiser that has terrible tracking or, you know, slow explosion velocity, that kind of thing, and I will orbit that at 9 km, put both of my Nosferatus on there, and send my drones and missiles out to attack everything else. Basically, I keep one thing alive to use as kind of like a blood bag, I suppose. Like a drip. I'm feeding myself off that one thing whilst I rip apart everything else. Now, the real the real one that people are going to get arguing with me about is the target painter here. Why on earth have I put a target painter on? Well, one, because it does affect the drone's application. Of course, if a target has a larger signature radius, then the drone's tracking speed and all that kind of thing makes it easier to hit that target. But it's actually mainly for the missiles. I'm using medium missiles, which do of course have a slow explosion velocity and a large explosion radius. So if I hit a small target with a target painter, that makes it bigger, and it allows me to delete a target very quickly using the missiles and the drones. Yeah, okay, you can sit there and say, well, okay, send the missiles against the cruisers and just send the drones against a small target, but sometimes you need to absolutely delete that small target as quickly as possible because it's scrambling you or it's hitting you with all kinds of other nasty things. So that's the one you sometimes just want to hit as quickly as possible, and having a target painter allows you to apply as much damage as possible with those missiles. Again, I get it, the missiles are only 72.77 DPS, but I'd rather be doing 72 DPS rather than doing 20 DPS when something absolutely needs to die. For PvP, you could swap that to something like a sensor dampener, which makes it much harder for them to lock onto your drones. If they've destroyed a drone and want to change targets, it can take a lot of time to do so. Obviously a warp scrambler or a warp disruptor or something in there as well would be useful for PvP. You'd lose one of the Nosferatus for that if in my personal opinion. Again, if you're going up against a very specific type of anomaly, you could go with a tracking disruptor or a guidance disruptor to help you mess with whatever weapons you're up against. If you're going up against Gurustas, for example, you could put on a guidance disruptor, go at like a slightly longer range to the very edge of your missile range, knowing that their missiles are going to have a little bit shorter range and thus not be able to hit you. That kind of thing. Fit your mid slots depending on the scenario. Webifiers are probably the only thing I would not recommend here, as the drones will hit quite happily against even the fastest moving targets out there, and for the smaller ones, again, you've still got the target painter plus missiles. You should be able to kill anything small before it even reaches Webifier range. Now for the low slots, as I said, this is an armor tank, so we have a Gorget medium armor repairer. Yes, it's a medium armor repairer. I'm never living that Malor incident down. This is a decent amount of armor repair, 405 armor repair every 9 seconds. Just helps me stay alive as I take damage, because you will take damage in a ship this size. And a Pilfer adaptive armor hardener just means that your armor takes less damage overall. That's increasing those resistances across the board by 19.13%. We then have a drone damage amplifier, in this case a bat drone damage amplifier, in order to increase the damage of those drones. Again, if I absolutely need to delete something quickly, I'm going to hit it with the target painter, send the missiles at it, all 5 of my drones are going to be on it, and I'll whack that bat drone damage amplifier to up the DPS and delete that ship as quickly as possible. Finally then, a medium afterburner makes for a decent enough low slot to get us around the battlefield, helps with looting at the end. We can sort of speed tank. It's not really the kind of ship that you speed tank against battleships. Yeah, maybe, but let's be honest, it's a big ship. It's anything over 100 meters. I don't really bother with speed tanking in combat encounters because you're not just up against battleships. You've got other things going on as well, and you don't want to just absolutely rip through your capacitor. Again, in this case, the capacitor is stable with everything running, as long as I'm 9 kilometers away with both of those Nosferatus feeding off a target. Key point to remember: if I don't have something to feed off, I don't necessarily remain stable, and in some of the storyline missions, there are some very aggressively neutralizing mobs as well. Now, for the rigs, in the power grid rigs, I've gone for drone firepower augmenters, and I've gone for a drone speed augmenter. That just means that the drones attack faster, and they deal more damage per hit. That's giving us 367.27 DPS across the board. Now, if you want to do some of the higher level content, some of the real hefty storyline stuff, and you're feeling a little bit braver, you can swap those out for things like Trimark armor pumps, and things that will help you fill your resistances. Here you can see 12,680 EHP overall, most of which is in the armor, but you can pull up that explosive resistance if you wanted to with something like an anti-explosive armor pump rig, and you can do the one that helps you repair your armor a little bit faster, that kind of thing as well, so you can keep that running and just top your armor up a little bit more. You can go for a full tank build here. And I wonder actually, isn't that usually what it recommends here under the recommended fittings? No, it actually recommends 2 drone speed augmenters. Yeah, don't take that recommended fittings too seriously, it's very, very basic. Now, for the mechanical rigs, I've gone for a polycarbon engine housing because it allows me to move around the battlefield that little bit faster, helps me to just speed tank whichever big target it is that I'm leeching with the Nosferatus that little bit better, and a dynamic fuel valve does allow me to keep that afterburner on ad infinitum. I can just have that afterburner on, keep orbiting a target at 9 kilometers, drain it of all of its capacitor, keep myself topped up using that, and the drones and the missiles clear out everything else. Let's showcase this build in action then with the Quaif Addiction Tier 7 encounter. This is one of the 2.5 million ISK encounters, I believe. So I've jumped in here actually at 0. You can see there's the marker and I'm in right next to it. I'm going to orbit that Myrmidon. The Myrmidon is the biggest target. I've got my auto orbit already set to 9 kilometers, so I lock on, I orbit with the afterburners active. I'm then going to target onto the Fanatic Celestis there, activate all the weapons, target back to the Myrmidon, put the 2 Nosferatus on, and then continue to focus fire on the Celestis. Now, the aim here is ultimately, I'm going to keep orbiting the Fanatic Myrmidon at 9 kilometers, using it as a kind of capacitor battery. Those 2 Nosferatus are just going to keep draining from the Fanatic Myrmidon. That's going to give me all the capacitor I need, whilst my weapons, one by one, take out the other ships, starting with the smallest, working up to the highest. Now, this being a Galente encounter, the E-War modules are Nosferatu and sensor dampeners. Sensor dampeners aren't usually a problem in these because chances are you've already locked onto everything you want to, and if anything small comes along, well, you can just take out the sensor dampener first and then deal with the small stuff. Nice and easy, straightforward. And the Nosferatu itself isn't an issue either because I'm pretty much capacitor stable and quite happily using that Myrmidon as a way for me to just, as I said, keep draining my capacitor. I don't change my orbit when I change target. I stick on that Fanatic, and as you can see, I'm taking almost no damage. I am going to lock onto one of my drones. No, not focus fire, delock on that. I was going to try and observe one of the drones to showcase to you guys that you can actually do this, and I really quite like this. It's a pretty cool little function. You can watch your drones move around and shoot at things. So there's a Mark 7 Vespa, up close and personal. You can see that cool little like camo effect almost on it. I'm not sure if it's a camo effect or if they're just very low-res graphic models, in fairness. There we go. But yeah, I'm just going to keep orbiting this Fanatic whilst, orbiting the Myrmidon whilst taking on the Celestis one by one. Now, where's the Hammerheads, there we are. Let's have a look at a hammerhead up close. These are really interesting drones. Typically Galente, ugly looking drones, and you don't really see the turrets on them. They don't seem to turn and point at their target, sadly, but looks a little bit weird when you're you're viewing them this closely, but there we are. They're kind of cool looking, as far as drones go. I'm not sure what the size of one of these is supposed to be. Like, is this supposed to be big enough that you could theoretically fit a human inside it, or is it basically a fighter pilot that's just been taken over by, by control systems, or are drones actually... Speaking of, where did one of them just go? I had 3 Vespers, I've only got 2 Vespers. Did one of those just get shot down by something? Yeah, I've now got a drone icon on the left-hand side. What on earth happened there? I appear to have lost a Vesper. Okay, our rat's now shooting at drones, it seems. The fact that I've only lost 1 this far in is pretty surprising, but really, that's really quite unusual. Yeah, I'm down to 2 hammerheads and 2 Vespers, and there's a drone tube on the left-hand side, empty and available for another drone. I don't have another one in the hold, though. That's a slight problem. I'm going to be doing the rest of this encounter with only 4 out of 5 drones. Oh, okay, well... I don't even know what happened. What shot it? What shot it? Someone go back there and tell me what on earth happened to that poor little Vesper. It just seemed to disappear. I'm just watching and suddenly it goes from 3 Vespers down to 2. But I didn't see anything shoot at it, and nothing seems to be shooting at any of the others, so... I don't know. I don't know what happened there. Anyway, look, things are getting a bit, ultimately at this point, as I said, I'm just orbiting around this one Myrmidon, and I'm going to keep orbiting this Myrmidon whilst I pull down this Celestis. So I am going to skip ahead now until the point where the wave actually changes, and we'll showcase what I do then. And the Myrmidon is about to go down, which will spawn our next wave. Let's see what we get. There it is, down it goes. Hit the lock on. Next wave, again, we should have a Myrmidon, which we're going to use as our anchor point. There we are, orbit on that. And we'll set the targets there onto the Celestis nearby. Keeping an eye, yep, we've got a Quae Fanatic Celestis currently doing its E-War modules. There we are, we activate the Nosferatus on the Myrmidon as we get close. And, oh, I've been scrambled. What is scrambling me? 5 kilometers there. That is the Algos. Right, okay, so we're going to hit that with a target painter, make it a nice big target. There we are. Switch every single weapon module I have over to here. Ultimately, I'm not using a micro warp drive, so it's not a huge problem. As long as this thing dies before anything big starts dealing some hefty damage to me. I mean, yeah, I am taking a bit of damage, but you know what? I'm an armor tank, and I haven't even touched armor yet. That's the amazing thing here about this Vexor Navy Issue build. You don't really take much in the way of damage at all in encounters like this normally, but let's get rid of that Fanatic anyway, that Fanatic Algos, just so that it is dead, it's dealt with, and I don't have to worry about being warp scrambled in the event that perhaps someone, they're not going to show up, it's an encounter. But it's good practice. It's good practice to always get rid of the scrams first. There we are, that's gone. Oh, no, I don't want to be targeting everything onto the Myrmidon. I need to keep that alive, that's my anchor point. Okay, let's lock on to the Algos there, small target. And we'll move everything across to that as well. There we go. I still haven't hit armor. Which is quite astonishing when you think about it. That's how little damage these guys are doing to me, because I'm keeping moving as a target, and the Vexor Navy Issue is a fairly small target. It's infuriating that I'm only 4 out of my 5 drones right now. I really should have packed to spare, but there we are. That's kind of what you get. For trying to skimp on things. Didn't want to have 6 drones because I didn't think I would need one. I still want to know what hit that drone. But there we are. We're taking out that Algos now. That's right the way down into structure. Dealing with that nice and quickly. Couple more hits and that's gone. And we can go back to that already injured Celestis. There we go. Drone damage amplifier has now come off cooldown. Wait until the drones are definitely in position and then reactivate that one. And this is it. This is literally how the Vexor Navy Issue can do fairly high tier content. And as I said, I've seen people who have higher skills in things like cruiser defense upgrade, that kind of thing, actually taking on as high as tier 10 anomalies in this thing. Certainly storyline missions are possible, you just need to know your target priority and understand what you're going up against. Notice that the elites, when they spawn in, and know what they're going to use and take those out nice and quickly. Keep your distance from everything else, string it out, and just fight things one at a time as required is ultimately the best way to do it. Here again, you can see I'm just maintaining that orbit around the Myrmidon. I'm keeping up the Nosferatus on those, which allow me to just use it as capacitor battery. Other than that, I break down everything else. I'm attacking everything except my battery. Essentially, that Myrmidon is the last one to go down because I'm just orbiting it and draining it for capacitor. And it's nice and simple. It's pretty much AFK. And considering, okay, the Vexor Navy Issues aren't the cheapest chips on the market, but for a brawler like this, it's nice and straightforward. It's a great little money maker, and considering this, as I said, this is a 7.5 million ISK mission, not including loot, not including bounty. So if I finish this off, sorry, 2.5 million, if I finish this off, it's nice and easy that I can eventually just get the money back from the Vexor Navy Issue over time, and that's just by doing these. If I'm doing the higher level ones, I can't showcase the tier 8 ones because I'm not tech level 8 on this character yet. That comes in a few days' time. But let's have a look just briefly in the fitting as well. I want to check out with the armor resistance active. Those are our resistances. 27 on the explosive, all the way up to 60% on the electromagnetic. Very high resistances there. I'm going to put the armor repairer on for a single cycle. And that's really it. You can pretty much AFK some very high tier content with the Vexor Navy Issue. Very much a nice, easy ship for AFKing and earning a good amount of ISK with. Get one of these, stick to doing encounters so that you don't have to worry about replacing it through like PvP in nullsec. Although if you are in safe nullsec, by which I mean if you're in nullsec and surrounded by friends and allies, you can probably do some pretty high tier anomalies with these things. And actually make yourself a good deal of ISK, both from the bounties and from any loot that they drop. Seriously, very good. I mean, that balance tick there, 1.135 million. It's a lot of ISK just from a simple bounty tick from doing this one encounter. Now, it's not even this encounter over yet, there's another wave after this one. But I'm not going to showcase that because it's pretty much more of the same thing. I just wanted to showcase what happens when a scrambler comes along on a smaller target, and I wanted to showcase getting this started at the beginning and the sort of the wave change, because those are the most important parts of an encounter like this. Anyway, folks, let me know your thoughts and opinions on the Vexor Navy Issue, indeed on any of the other cruisers, especially drone cruisers. What are you using to clear content with at the moment? What's your favourite cruiser? What are you enjoying the most? What are you looking forward to the most once you hit tech level 8? Because of course we have the Vexor Sniper at tech level 8 as well, which is going to be an interesting one to see how that compares to the Navy Issue. That said though, thank you for watching right the way to the end, folks. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden! We come at last then to the final part of this video where, as promised, we're going to look at the 3 winners of the screenshot competition with the shuttles. Now, entries to this were absolutely excellent, and there were so many more than I expected. Genuinely, I was expecting maybe 10 or 20 entries. I think we cleared 150, and the quality across the board was absolutely phenomenal. I was feeling really rough last week when I issued the challenge, and it really cheered me up seeing what you guys were doing with shuttles. Yeah, okay, there was a lot of people on Reddit, etc. saying the usual kind of, oh, they're useless ships, what's the point in these, can't NetEase add something useful? And then to see so many of you embrace the concept of just having fun in a video game was really heartwarming, really cheered me up, and there were a lot of great entries. Really hard to narrow it down, but there can only be 3. Now, the main purpose of this, as I said, was to get you out exploring, having fun, and seeing some of the finer details in EVE Echoes that might otherwise get missed. So that's what I've tried to take into account while judging these 3. First and foremost then, here we have Ray Rodriguez's Sancha base. Of course, shuttles are used for exploring, and here we can see that Ray has used that 100% down pirate aggression bonus to find out what one of the bases actually look like. Now, I know a lot of us tend to just jump into an anomaly, kill the ships, and then fly away at the end. This was a great opportunity, using that roll bonus, for Ray to just get in, and certainly in his tweet he even seemed quite excited to finally be able to see what one of the pirate bases actually look like. It's a Minmatar shuttle as well, which of course doesn't hurt your chances, but I do like the way he's got the full pirate base there in the background, and it was just kind of that spirit of exploration that tipped this one for me. Really well done, Ray. I've contacted you on Twitter. Congratulations on winning a Combo Omega. Now the second one here was Wayne Fitzpatrick, a Gallente shuttle in a Gallente jump gate. Now I absolutely adore the colours here, that vibrant sort of tealish green aqua colour, and the idea of approaching a jump gate felt in the spirit of exploration. It was like that adventure just about to begin, staring down the unknown and preparing to take that first jump. I absolutely adore this one. It's really nice. I love the silhouette of the Gallente shuttle against it. It is like a bird taking flight and about to begin its journey. Really awesome screenshot. Love this one to pieces. I do also want to give an honourable mention to another one of Wayne Fitzpatrick's entries, which he put #traffic. This was just, oh, this made me chuckle. Amazing how huge the shuttle looks in comparison. Obviously it's because it's closer than the others in the background, but that sort of traffic coming out of a station, I'm betting that's Jita. It might not be, but it reminds me a lot of Jita. Now this third one then goes to Salome Valkyrie, and I do hope I'm pronouncing that right. My apologies if I'm not. Now Salome actually sent a suite of excellent exploration screenshots. There were 4 that she sent in her tweet, and all of them were absolutely fantastic. A little bit blurry, but they embodied exactly what I was looking for, using the shuttles to appreciate those little details. She was getting right up close to a lot of really interesting NPC ships and getting a good look at them, and the way that she described this was that there was no better way to actually go exploring than in a ship that costs you almost nothing to lose. And what an excellent screenshot this one is here with the Hyperion, a Gallente Hyperion. I love the way that the engines are sort of ready to go. It looks like the engines are still burning hot, ready to go if anything goes wrong here with the Amar shuttle, but it's just the contrast there of the bright colours of the Amar shuttle against the dark colours of that, I'm assuming that's a Serpentis Hyperion in the background. Really cool use of the shuttle there to get a look at what is otherwise the kind of ship you don't want to be getting too close to without some very fast speeds to avoid its guns. Awesome looking ship, awesome looking screenshot. Congratulations Salome, you have won yourself a month of Combo Omega. Now again, thank you all so much for your entries. I know if you haven't necessarily seen it at the beginning of the video, or if you haven't, won anything at the end here, don't be disheartened. Seriously, the competition was fierce. There were so many entries, and you guys really made me so happy when I was otherwise feeling like absolute trash. So thank you all so much for taking part. Keep tuned to the channel. I will be putting out other giveaways and wins, hopefully at some point in the future as well. Nettie's kind of being very kind and giving me some Combo Omegas that I can give out. I've got a few more to give out in a future video, so do stay tuned. Otherwise, folks, happy sailing and see you in New Eden!